Gandhi was opposed to present state because it was based on force and centralization of authority, which was harmful for the individual freedom. Gandhi stood for replacement of the existing state by an ideal state based on non-violence, in which individual would have maximum independence. The ideal state of Gandhi's concept was predominantly non-violent, which could be achieved only through moral evolution of the individual. Another notable feature of the ideal state contemplated by Gandhi was that it would be governed by voluntary efforts of the individual and would be conducted in accordance with ethical ideals. Gandhi held that submission to a moral law tantamounted to participation in evil. He therefore insisted that the citizen should refuse to cooperate with the laws which were immoral and not good for the common people. Another feature of ideal state of Gandhi was that it laid more emphasis on duties rather than rights. The only right conceded by Gandhi to the citizens in ideal state was right to perform their duties properly. Gandhi pleaded for decentralization of authority both in the political and economic spheres. The decentralized society of Gandhi's concept was non-violent in nature, and there was no place for military police or law courts in such a society. In the economic sphere, decentralization implied replacement of large-scale industry by cottage industry. Gandhi insisted that a person should possess only as much property which was essential for his day-to-day life and attainment of self-realization. He was against unnecessary accumulation of wealth or goods. Gandhi did not favor use of force for taking away surplus wealth from the rich for the benefit of the poor. On the other hand, he held that the rich should be made to realize that they hold surplus wealth as trustees of the society and should make available the same for the benefit of the community. Intimately linked with his views on trusteeship in his concept of bread labor, Gandhi held that in an ideal society everyone should put in physical labor and the needs of the body should be supplied by the body. In the ideal state of Gandhi's concept, there was no room for police and military. The police would have arms, but these would be rarely used. On the other hand, the police would act as reformer and try to curb the disturbances with the help and cooperation of the people. Similarly, the military force would be also retained even though it was expected to be non-violent in character and would constantly engage in constructive activities. Even in a non-violent state of Gandhi's concept, some sort of antisocial elements would exist which would commit crime. These criminals should be reformed rather than eliminated through capital punishment. Gandhi favored retention of the prisons but insisted on transforming them into reformatories. He wanted to make the jail financially self-supporting. Gandhi was highly critical of the existing judicial administration. He favored decentralization of judicial administration and insisted on the transfer of judicial work to the village panchayats. He wanted the judges and lawyers to perform their judicial duties without any payment. Gandhi was a great nationalist and intensely loved his country. However, he also believed in the principle of brotherhood of man and was willing to sacrifice his country for the good of human race. In fact, Gandhi found no contradiction between nationalism and internationalism. Gandhi, like the communists, was opposed to the exploitation of the poor by the rich and pleaded for better deal to the weaker sections of society. However, he insisted on spiritualization of politics, while Marxism insisted on discarding religions. Further, Gandhi treated man as an end in itself, while Marx considered the individual as a means to an end. Again, while Gandhi favored decentralization and cottage industries, Marx stood for large-scale industrialization. Gandhi attached great importance to ahimsa, non-violence. Thus we can say that sharp difference exists between Gandhi and Marx with regard to the ends as well as the means to achieve these ends. Gandhi has been criticized because he did not provide any systematic political philosophy. He merely made empirical suggestions to deal with the various social, economic and political philosophy. However, his contributions to the Indian political thought cannot be denied. He tried to blend politics with ethics and emphasized the value of truth and non-violence for the solution of the national and international problems. Critics have noted several shortcomings in Gandhi viz. His stateless and classless society is quite impracticable, his preference for cottage industries was a retrograde step, his views regarding the primacy of means over ends is also not in keeping with the modern trend. Despite the above shortcomings and criticism, it cannot be denied that the ideals advocated by Gandhi are worthy of emulation and can greatly contribute to the saving of the civilization from its complete eclipse.